The update on the Canadian ostriches is so big it could change the world if you really understand what's happening. And after I share with y'all the update, I'm gonna show you the part of the situation that you haven't seen. The really dark part. Don't y'all see what's going on right here? First, you can't go into the woods, your own woods, and now they're gonna come into your yards and kill your birds? So you may have known that yesterday they made the owners leave the land and they were creating this concoction to put all the ostriches in while they were taking care of them. But then guess what happened? An Indian tribe was seeing the news and hearing the word about the ostriches and what the Canadian government was going to do. You heard that right. They heard what was going on, so they took action. A First Nations band rolled up and told the officers and everyone there not to touch a feather on those ostriches because this was unceded land. It appears as if the government can't just do whatever they want to whenever they feel like doing something terrible to you. Who knew? But guess what? If these people would have just laid down and allowed it and not done all the things they were doing, they would literally be in the process, the Canadian government, of killing their birds. Read in between the lines. There's a huge lesson. Now the dark part. Yesterday, they pulled up to the ostrich farm in hazmat suits, getting ready to dominate and unalive, stupid word I know, social media, a whole bunch of them. But did you know for 2 weeks they were around these same exact ostriches and never wore a suit just for the photo op in the video? And further, it was 250 days after the bird flu outbreak. Building a death barn out of the owner's own hay. Unknown injustices are going to continue happening. But when they become known, you might just save some ostriches.
Today's video is going to focus a little bit on some of the government overreach that's taking place around the world. I'm just hoping that the more we spread awareness about what other governments are doing to their citizens, that the people here will start to wake up. However, I feel today's video has a much more hopeful vibe to it. This stuff is happening, but the people aren't standing for it. As a good example, just look at that hay fence that the Canadian government built to pretty much go slaughter all those birds. Last night, someone caught that thing on fire. People are getting sick of this garbage. Everybody's not just rolling over like they have been. I'm starting to feel like there's hope that things may actually get better. People are not bowing down to the government overlords anymore.
Peter Thiel, he's doing a 4-day seminar on the Antichrist.
What?
I read this article by Christianity Today about the Acts 17 ministry. I think their intentions are good. They want to reach the tech industry with the gospel. The husband of the founder of Acts 17, he used to work for Peter Thiel at Palantir, and they went over to one tech industry dude's house to do like this house church, and Peter Thiel was there, and Peter Thiel just started talking about the Antichrist and stuff. And apparently all these Silicon Valley tech dudes were just like, we didn't know Peter Thiel was a Christian.
Peter Thiel is a libertarian, and there's a professor that he studied under. A lot of his quotes regarding Christianity are direct quotes from this professor. The professor and him are very, as far as like the Antichrist and stuff like that, there's this tension between the apocalypse coming and the Antichrist is the hero that saves everyone from it. His entire thing is like, something's gonna happen that makes you choose one or the other. But he defines himself, as far as his own religious views, as a heterodoxical Christian. It's the same root as heretic. He doesn't believe you need to evangelize. He's like, my faith is real for me. I don't need to convince you of it. You cannot call yourself a believer. And the last thing that Jesus said after his 3 years of ministry, death and resurrection, he says, go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey the things I've commanded you. You cannot be a follower of that human and say, I don't have to teach you to obey. It's a direct defiance. I think there is a political advantage that he's trying to pull from this. You either believe in the Jesus of the Bible or you don't believe in Jesus.
There's a big difference between having conversations and then being put up as a teacher and learning. The Bible's very clear. People who teach should be very careful.
One of his arguments for like transhumanism, what I believe I got from it was his excuse was that Christians are transhumanism. It's the renewal of the spirit. You become a new person. Your soul is transformed. You're a transhuman.
You're not living. It's Christ that's living through you.
So that's almost like an excuse. And I'm like, this sounds like the Antichrist. That's why I like talking about it so much, because it's him.
I have a much different perspective on this. There was that interview he did not too long ago where it was actually pointed out to him all the ramblings online about people suspecting that he may be the Antichrist. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this guy's had a change of heart or that he's suddenly a good guy or something. But if you watch that interview, he gets all this stuff pointed out to him, that everyone's looking at all these things that he's involved in, like mass surveillance and the biometric digital ID, and then he gets asked basically point blank if he's the Antichrist. You can see it all over his face when he gets asked that question, that this has never occurred to him before. And if he's a Christian, even if he has some skewed view of Christianity, and let's be honest, most of us Christians do have a faulty view of some aspect of Christianity. Otherwise, there would only be one denomination, and they can't all have it right. There are too many different belief structures. But if he is a believer, in that moment that he was asked that question, I got the impression that it kind of unsettled him a bit. Like maybe he'd never considered that before, but he could instantly see why people were making that connection. Perhaps he's starting to second guess his own actions. One could only hope. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to leave your thoughts and your theories in the comment section down below.
He had never posted anything paranormal until he decided to camp in a forest rumored to be extremely haunted. After arriving, he parks his van and takes a walk into the dark woods. A little later, he stops to have some coffee. He sets the camera down, unknowingly capturing someone or something moving in the background.
Whittard's White Hot Chocolate, the luxury version. I didn't really think this through. I should have got a saucepan with a lid.
Did you see it? Something white can be seen moving between the trees in the distance. Adam doesn't notice and keeps walking deeper into the woods. He hears strange sounds, but brushes them off as nothing to worry about.
I mean, the last thing I want to do is stack it down a hill. There are a lot of noises in these woods, but at the same time, if I was in the woods on a normal night, I'd just think it's normal. It's only because I'm thinking I'm on a ghost hunt, so every little noise, I'm like, is that a ghost? But in all honesty, it's fine. It's frogs and pigeons. Pigeons! I love pigeons. The light on the top of my camera, I think it's going to die quite soon, so I'm only going to have my torch left. Right, I'm starting to get a little bit lost, I'm not going to lie. But I think I'm going to head back towards the way that I came, because I swear I keep seeing someone undone. There's no one there, I swear. There was. I think I'm gonna go this way, to be honest with you. That is a person. I'm not even joking. What the? I can't see anything. Oh, what was that?
Suddenly, a figure emerges from the shadows directly in front of Adam. He sees it and bolts, running for his life. But who or what did Adam see?
That first shot that just showed like a shadow that was barely visible moving from behind that tree, with the speed that that thing was moving at, I find it really odd that this guy didn't at least hear it, that there was no sound to alert him to its presence. I know he kept saying that he was hearing noises, but if you've been out in the woods alone at night before, it's pretty easy to get a general idea of how close something is when you're hearing a sound that it's making. And it's typically much quieter in the woods at night than it is in the day. Everything's hiding or sleeping. On top of that, anything that's in those woods with you, as you move through the trees, it typically gets still and quiet because it doesn't know if you're a threat or not. But I don't think this was some entity like they're trying to make it out to be. It looked to me like it was just a guy in a black hoodie with a white mask on. But that's more terrifying to me than any ghost you could run into. You know that guy means to do you harm. Otherwise, he would have made himself known. But videos like this make it really difficult to go in the woods alone anymore. You just never know who else is out there and what their intentions are.
We did have a public-private partnership with the Fraser Health Authority.
Okay.
And we were told in our hospice, so I became the president of the Delta Hospice Society, and we were told because we had a hospice that we operated, a facility that we actually built. We fundraised $8 million. We built it. We got a land lease for 35 years. We built those buildings on it. We were told that if we want money, we're going to have to start our patients. And we said, well, we're not our patients. We're palliative care. We don't do that.
Right. The whole point is to just ease the suffering as they go through this experience.
Live well.
Life. Yeah.
Until your natural end, which
Right.
we can help you with.
Yeah.
Right. And so they said, well, you're not getting any more money. And we said, that's fine. We don't want your money and we don't need your money.
Wow. Okay.
Right. We're sitting on this land with our buildings. So we had 25 years left on that land lease. So as soon as we started to resist and be defiant, not get into lockstep, they canceled that lease with 25 years left.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
They evicted us from our buildings, took our money away, and basically took our facility from us, kicked us off the land, and expropriated those buildings, $8.5 million worth, to the government. So the government walked in, started to operate our hospice with us gone, and provide euthanasia there.
That is absolutely outrageous, and it does fit into this model we're seeing where they will shut down a bank account. They go against the lease that's been signed. What good is the lease if it doesn't, protect the property then you've invested that funding and money into knowing you're going to be there for a period of time, and all just because you're like, we're not going to offer death as one of the options in our hospice.
So you are now compelled. You see, and this kind of right, is conquest and then compel. That's the dance. That's the modus operandi that they're using, and that's going to be facilitated by the court system, by the judiciary.
Yeah.
Right? And all of our courts and our judges are appointed in Canada, appointed by the government.
Yeah. And so the government is controlling the whole thing. And where does the media come into this? Why is the media not pushing back? I know here we have pharmaceutical control of our media, so we'd be kind of screwed here, but you don't have that in Canada.
No, we have government control of our media. The government gives the media billions of dollars. So basically it's, I joke, kind of, not really, that is like Soviet-style Pravda.
Yeah.
That's our media.
So none of the television stations, they all get government funding?
They all get money, but particularly the CBC.
Yeah.
That's the state.
That's unreal. I knew the medically assisted death thing was kind of getting out of hand in Canada, but I thought they were just promoting it heavily. Apparently, they're actually coercing these companies into pushing this on their patients at the threat of cutting off their funding. And now that this report's come out, all these companies know that they will go through with cutting off that funding. And we all know they just want to get these people off the books so they don't have to foot the bill for their medical expenses anymore. Their mentality toward their own citizens is literally like that of a bank that's trying to unload a property that's no longer profitable. That is disgusting. And they have the audacity to sit there with a straight face and lecture the United States about how we aren't compassionate enough in regards to human rights.
I was asked to do Celebrity Big Brother in Australia, and I was offered a huge sum of money, so I said yes. At the same time, Australia's locked down. Been locked down for 2 years. No one's allowed to leave. No one's allowed to come back. People can't go and visit their dead gran. People are stuck in the UK, can't get back to their own kids in their own country, but they're going to fly me in to do Celebrity Big Brother. And I'm like, righty, okay, yeah, sure. And I'm going to have to spend 15 days in lockdown, in quarantine, before I even get into the house, because I have to be, So over I go, and 2 police officers have to come on the plane to take me off the plane. And I have to be in a police van taken to my isolation prison. I am then escorted into the building. You have to be processed by a police team, taken up to the 26th floor by a member of the army and a member of the navy, and put in my quarantine room, prison. And they take the key. I'm not allowed a key. I'm not allowed to touch the front door of my room. I have to stay inside. When they bring my food, they're going to knock on the door. I have to wait 30 seconds. Then I'm allowed out. If I smell, I'm being briefed on this. And the thing that really grips me as someone who, purposefully should be military, is someone had to brief that guy briefing me, for him to brief me with those Someone had to stand there with a uniform and a straight face and say, 30 seconds, they're allowed to open the door. When they open the door, they're allowed to get their food. To get their food, they must have a mask. And I was like, I cannot deal with this level of bonkers. Day 2, 5 in the morning, and I lost my, and I went online, did a live, and then no one knew where I was, and I was like, I'm here in Sydney, and I'm in a country where no one's allowed to be, no one's allowed to come, people can't get to, and I frickin' went for it, and I gave it the whole, this is the tyranny of the people, you people need to rise up, I'm sitting in your country, I'm not vaccinated, I shouldn't be here, you are being done. And I tell you, off I went back for a sleep. I woke up and Australia blew up. They said that they were cancelling my visa. I never even, they gave me the visa, and that I was now an illegal immigrant in the country. I never tried to get in. They brought me, and that I was going to be taken to an immigration deportation centre to be held. And then my electricity went off. Then they stopped delivering food. You're on your own, and they're taking away your light, your food. They're calling you an illegal. They're going to deport you. And it's like, it got really, really dark. And so these wagons of police officers turned up like I was Hannibal Lecter, full breathing apparatus, all the rest of it, shoved me in a van and deported my...
I haven't posted anything in regards to the laws and the government in Australia getting out of hand for quite a while now. And that's mainly because the last few times I did so, I got comments from people claiming to be Australian. They were swearing up and down that the videos that I was posting was just a bunch of misinformation, that things like that weren't actually happening in Australia, and that I was just helping to spread propaganda. Well, I've never even been to the place. So if people who actually live there are telling me that these videos are spreading false info, what choice do I have but to take their word for it? But now I'm starting to wonder if maybe that was somebody from their government running defense, someone who just wanted me to not be talking about what I was talking about. Because clearly, with all the videos that I've seen on X over the past month showing what people are actually going through with their government in Australia, those videos being some concerted effort to try to make Australia look bad just wouldn't make any sense, especially since their passing of the Digital ID Act of 2024. It's starting to look like that country has fallen, and that's sad. I had actually considered moving there whenever I was younger, but now I'd be scared to go visit the place.
If you are going to present a theory about the function of these structures, it has to be a comprehensive theory, and all of the theories just focus specifically on the Great Pyramid, and they completely ignore all of the other pyramids in Egypt as if they don't even exist. And I came to investigating evidence of this electricity production that everyone talks about. Yeah. And as I began to explore the sites, I didn't see any evidence whatsoever that was leading me to the production of electricity. But there were a lot of things that were pointing me in the direction of the production of chemicals on an industrial scale. So to introduce myself, my name is Jeffrey Drum, and I'm the author of a book called The Land of Chem, as in the land of chemistry. Yep. And it's the long title is The Land of Chem, an initiation into ancient chemistry through the degrees of the Egyptian pyramids. And it's a story that tells the function of these structures, but also kind of my story of exploring the pyramids and all this kind of stuff. So it's a very interesting book. It is known a chemical that was the first synthetic pigment that was ever produced and documented in the historical record. And you've probably seen this painted all over the Egyptian statues, and even inside the Pyramid of Lunis, the stars and the roof are painted with Egyptian blue.
Yes.
So this is a very complex molecule and chemical. And this is sort of a preface to everything that we're going to be talking about today, as evidence not only of the sophisticated chemistry and the complexity of the compounds that were being produced, but this is also evidence that this civilization was producing chemicals and chemical-based products on an industrial scale, because they find this paint not only all over Egypt, but all over the Mediterranean world. So they can't just make one small batch of this stuff. You have to be making hundreds of thousands of gallons of Egyptian blue. And they've tried to study the manufacturing process that created this. Every time I start digging into stuff, I'm absolutely fascinated about what I find about the dynastic and even pre-dynastic period in terms of their chemicals, their materials, their technology. This is 2017, my first trip to Egypt. And I was out there again kind of looking for evidence of electricity production. So Yusuf, again, we got special permission to go out to Abu Sir, and Yusuf takes us out there. Shout out to Yusuf Awian. And I see this collection bowl and the conduit that is leading into the collection bowl. And the conventional explanation of this thing is that it's for collection of rainwater or drainage water. And to me, that just doesn't make any sense, because if you're doing a drainage conduit, you don't go through all of the effort to carve this from red quartzite, which is a very exotic stone that they had to take from very far away. And you certainly don't make a collection bowl for drainage water. It's the same thing as if, the drainage pipe on the side of your house. You don't collect that water. You just drain it off.
I just wanted to add that because it's the first new theory that I've heard in a long time for the purpose of the pyramids. And what the guy's saying certainly makes sense. And that's something I've never really considered. They did use a ton of this blue dye, and it had to be coming from somewhere. I guess the hardest part of this for me to wrap my head around is, why would they go through all the trouble of building these massive structures just so they'd have enough of their favorite art supply? That doesn't make any sense at all. Unless, of course, that was just one of many chemicals they were producing with the pyramids. I suppose it's also possible that that blue dye was just a runoff product from something else they were already manufacturing. And maybe that's what the pyramid was being used for. We've got several products on the market today that were discovered after testing the byproduct of some manufacturing process. I thought this was an interesting idea, though. I just can't believe that this blue dye was the singular intended purpose for the construction of the pyramids. What do y'all think?
In locations beyond the equator, you'll absolutely see the sun's size change. And that could never ever happen if the sun was 93 million miles away. You wouldn't see the sun change at all.
Our eyes cannot see farther than what they were designed to see, but that is no reason to keep them closed.
There's also an effect that occurs under certain conditions called atmospheric lensing, where the sheer amount of atmosphere, as well as the rain between you and the sun, acts like a lens and a prism, magnifying it greatly, which leads to another observational proof that the sun setting is an optical effect. At such times, when the sun is setting over the sea, and it seems as though it's half hidden by the horizon, then you can zoom in with a high-powered zoom camera and see that it's actually still above the horizon. It's just an optical illusion.
Pay attention to the sun rays here. This alone proves our local sun, and so do these shadows. So what about the moon? We all witness the moon only illuminating the local clouds around it. That is because it is also a local light, but one with opposite effects from the sun. As we can all agree, shade from the sun is cooler than direct sunlight. But did you know the moon's shade is actually warmer than direct moonlight? The moon produces cold light, something the science priests must have forgotten to teach us all about in school. Not only that, but at times we can see stars through the moon, proving it is not some solid rock 238,900 miles away. In the 60s, true science regarding the moon was the shadow band topic of its era. People actually believe they walked on the moon, talked with Nixon, played golf, drove a car, and planted a flag.
If you really believe that Neil Armstrong took the first step, then why do you give any credit to the cameraman already there waiting for him?
First of all, I'm certainly convinced that the moon is a local light. It has to be, or at the very least, it has to be much closer than they're telling us. It's just not possible that it's 240,000 miles away. We wouldn't be able to zoom in on it with a consumer-grade camera, and we wouldn't only be able to see it lighting up the clouds only in its immediately visible vicinity if it was shining on all of them with equal intensity from an equal distance away. I'm not really sure at this point, though, how far away I think it actually is. I don't know that I'm on board with it being plasma, though. Granted, I'm no expert, but from what I understand about plasma, and I've done some research on it, it typically has the appearance of a type of fluid. If our moon were plasma, and even if our electromagnetic field were able to form it and hold it in some sort of a shape, we've seen nothing else in nature that could hold that level of definition using that method. I guess I'm saying if it were plasma, we probably wouldn't see all the dings and the dents and stuff in it. Those things would change at least occasionally. I think it's really interesting, though, that the moon emits a colder light than the shade it produces. That almost makes me wonder if maybe it's emitting its own light. Maybe it's not reflecting off the sun. Honestly, I feel kind of crazy even considering that, though. What do y'all think about it?
Okay, I might have just cracked the code as to why thousands of bells were removed, hundreds of thousands of bells were removed throughout Europe and a lot of the world around the same time. Now, the mainstream official explanation for this just doesn't really hold too much water. I mean, something about efficiency or the old ways, in with the new, out with the old. But there may be something else going on here. And by the way, you can look at like hundreds of pictures like this of thousands of bells. They got rid of them all, and let's dig into maybe why. And what does this have to do with Spider-Man 3? Stay tuned. Did you know that there's an ancient kind of mythological thought that bells repel demons and that the devil hates bells? And even that copper bells in most temples, the sound emanating from them, copper kills the surrounding microbacteria as well as activates the 7 centers of the body. We're talking resonant sound waves. We're talking Nikola Tesla energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, the idea that bells repel and paralyze demons stems from widespread folklore and religious traditions across cultures, across thousands of years, across the world. Now, the idea is that resonant sound can drive away demonic forces and create a spiritually protected space. Think of a singing bowl. Now, do you remember what Venom's kryptonite was? What the weakness of Venom from Spider-Man was? Supersonic noises, such as the ringing of church bells. And what was Venom? A demonic, evil force that tried to mind control Spider-Man and take over his consciousness. And you can go watch a A-list Hollywood depiction of this happening in Spider-Man 3 when he rings the church bell and Venom cannot withstand it. So were ancient bells removed because they want more demonic activity around us?
This one kind of feels like a stretch to me. But at the same time, if we're living in Satan's little season, and if there were any truth at all to these ancient myths, maybe this guy's onto something. I think we've seen time and time again that we shouldn't be that quick to just write off these ancient myths and stories. I've seen several of these stories over the past couple of years that appear to be much more than just some cautionary tale passed down through the ages. I just wanted to get y'all's opinion on this one. I know the official story is that they had to melt all these things down to get ammunition for the wars, but both things could be true at once. It could be that they melted all these bells down because they didn't want us to have any kind of defenses against these demonic forces, which it's pretty obvious if given the option, that's the direction they would go in. All you got to do is look at how these elites are running society to figure that one out. But maybe the ammunition excuse was just a good cover story. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to leave your theories and your thoughts on the videos in the comment section down below. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day. And I will see you all tomorrow.